Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how senior care can feel fragmented? You talk to the hospital, then the rehab center, then a home care agency, then a senior living community, then maybe an attorney, then maybe someone like me who helps with housing decisions. And somewhere along the way, you start thinking, why does this feel so complicated? Why doesn't everyone seem connected? Why do I feel like I'm the one coordinating everything? If you've ever felt that way, you're not imagining it. Senior care often does feel fragmented, not because people don't care and not because professionals aren't trying, but because the system itself was never designed to operate as one coordinated pathway. Today, we're going to go behind the scenes and talk about why senior care feels fragmented and what families need to understand so they don't feel like they're navigating this alone. Hi, I'm Corpus, a Senior Transition Specialist and Seniors Real Estate Expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I work with families navigating senior living decisions, housing transitions, and care planning. And I also work alongside many of the professionals who make up the senior care ecosystem, which gives me a unique perspective. I see what families experience, and I see what's happening behind the scenes among providers. This is another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions, powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we bring clarity to decisions that are too often made under pressure. Let's dive in. The first thing families need to understand is this: senior care isn't one unified system. It's a collection of separate systems: healthcare, housing, home care, rehabilitation, insurance, legal planning, financial planning. Each of these systems has its own rules, timelines, incentives, and communication channels. And while they all intersect around the same person, your parents, they don't always communicate seamlessly with one another, which means families often become the connector between them. Let's start with hospitals. Hospitals are designed to stabilize medical issues. Their job is to treat the immediate problem. Once the patient is medically stable, the hospital's responsibility shifts towards discharge. But discharge planning is often focused on the next step, not the long-term picture. Families may hear things like they're medically stable, but medically stable doesn't always mean able to manage medications independently, able to safely navigate the home, able to prevent future falls, and able to maintain independence long-term. So the hospital hands off the next step, and the next step may not yet be fully coordinated. Then comes rehabilitation. Short-term rehab centers focus on improving strength, mobility, and function after a hospitalization. But these stays are typically limited. Insurance often determines how long someone can remain in rehab, which means the focus becomes what progress can be made in this window, not necessarily what long-term living situation will work best. Again, the system is addressing the next step, not the full picture. Home care agencies play an incredibly important role. They provide caregivers who assist with bathing, dressing, medication reminders, companionship, and daily support. But home care agencies operate on a different structure. They provide care hours. They don't typically coordinate housing transitions, family decision-making, financial planning, and real estate considerations, which means another piece of the puzzle is being addressed, but the entire puzzle still needs coordination. Senior living communities focus on a different dimension: housing combined with support, assisted living, memory care, independent living services. These communities provide structure, safety, and daily support, but they usually enter the picture only when families begin exploring housing changes, which may happen after hospitalization, a fall, caregiver burnouts, and increasing care needs. Again, another part of the system appears, but the transition between pieces isn't always seamless. When you step back all of this, something becomes clear. Hospitals stabilize, rehab centers strengthen, home care agencies support daily living, senior living communities provide structured environments, attorneys handle legal frameworks, financial advisors handle financial planning, but no single role automatically coordinates everything. And that's why families often feel like they're managing the entire system. They are. Not because they're supposed to, but because the ecosystem evolved in separate parts. For adult children, especially those in the sandwich generation, this fragmentation creates enormous pressure. You may be balancing your own career, your own children, your parents' changing needs, emotional stress, financial questions, and housing decisions, and suddenly you're expected to understand a complex ecosystem you've never had to navigate before. That's a heavy burden. And it's one reason senior transitions feel so overwhelming. The families who experience the most stability are not necessarily the families with the most resources. They're the families with the most coordination. When communication improves between care providers, housing advisors, family members, and financial decision makers, the entire process becomes calmer. Decisions become clearer, and families feel less like they're reacting to crisis and more like they're navigating a plan. That coordination is what transforms fragmentation into clarity. Senior care isn't fragmented because people don't care. It's fragmented because the system grew in separate directions. Healthcare, housing, support services, financial planning, legal frameworks, all evolved independently, which means families often become the bridge between them. But when professionals collaborate earlier and families understand their structure, transitions become much more manageable. So today we talked about why senior care often feels fragmented, because hospitals focus on stabilization, rehab focuses on recovery windows, home care focuses on caregiving hours, senior living focuses on housing and support, legal and financial advisors focus on planning. Each role matters, but no single role automatically connects them all. And that's why coordination is so important. When the pieces align, the entire transition becomes less stressful. This has been another episode of Sandwich Generation Solutions powered by the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. If you're a family navigating senior living decisions, downsizing, or trying to figure out the next step for a parent, visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/families for guidance and resources designed specifically for you. And if you're a senior care professional who wants more structure, more predictability, and stronger positioning in today's market, visit www.simplifyseniortransitions.com/professionals to learn how we can build that together. You can watch and listen to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast right here on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And if this episode brought you clarity, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Reviews help more families and professionals find the show before stress turns into crisis. I'm Dale Corpus, and I'll see you on the next episode.